everyone. Welcome back. I'm Cole Phillips, author of The Adventure of the Twisted Truths and host of The Book and Dagger, the YouTube channel where we talk about everything fiction and fantasy. Today, I'm going to be doing the second video on what I promised a couple of days ago, or a couple of videos ago. I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about the Wheel of Time, particularly season 2 of the show and books kind of 2 and 3. This is mostly like I've in some of my videos in the past I've said how much I dislike uh, Amazon's adaptation of the book series, because I personally think the book series is personally to me it's the second best fantasy series I've ever read. And so when I heard when it was like getting a TV adaptation, I was really excited. And but then I was like watching the TV adaptation, I just feel it didn't do the books justice. I never really have gone too much into depth with this, so I decided to do a couple of videos explaining particularly why I don't like the show and what about the changes has me as a book fan just kind of disappointed. That being said, there have been some really good moments in the show, um, but again, a lot of those really good moments have been when they've been faithful to the book, or they've been taken a scene from the book and only slightly altered it just to make it more impactful. And I just feel like this show could have done so much better if they had just stuck with the book from the beginning. Season 2, especially the ending part of season 2, has some really just moments where I'm just like, they had a chance to do it so good, and they went and changed it. As a result, it's much worse. So I'm going to talk about season 2 of The Wheel of Time, and just kind of explain it. So let's just go and jump right into it. Basically, well, the first thing right off the bat is that in season 1, I think my video on season 1, how it differed from the book, I mentioned that at the end of season 1 of The Wheel of Time, Moraine gets stilled by a Shamael, which in book 1, a Shamael, like, that does not happen. And it's like Moraine is very much so channeling in the second book, The Wheel of Time. Which, if you don't know, by the way, what being stilled is essentially in The Wheel of Time, it's when you're basically, if you're someone who can channel the one power, it's when you get, like, the source inside this, like, inside you, it gets like severed essentially. You get cut off from the source. It's like you can kind of feel it just outside your reach, it's described, but you can't actually like reach out and like embrace it and use it. And this is a very like, throughout the books there's many times when people get stilled and they just basically essentially they lose just kind of all interest in life. Is how it's described. So that is like a big part of season 2 of the show, is that Moraine is stilled, and so she's very much, her character is very like struggling with grief and stuff. I just felt like that was a very unnecessary addition, and it just made her less likable as a character in the show. um that was one of the biggest changes to it. Another big change they made that I didn't not sure how I felt about that is that so in my first video about season 1, I mentioned that Perrin basically finds out about his wolf brother abilities when he meets Elias Matura, another wolf brother who hangs out with wolves. And they did not have Elias Ventura in season 1. Now they did put him in season 2, and he kind of like, Perrin kind of travels with him for a bit, but it just felt really kind of disappointing because in season 1 there's this whole big to do where Perrin has no idea about his wolf brother abilities, and then he walks in on this camp of this guy just like laying on the ground surrounded by wolves, just casually laying there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this wolf right here says that you have the ability to speak with them. You just gotta learn it." And Perrin's kind of like, "What?" In season 2, however, Perrin like already has his abilities, and so it's kind of just doesn't feel as good. And it was a change I personally was not pleased with. We do, however, get to meet Hopper, which which is actually kind of another change because so in the season 1, also one of the wolves uh Perrin meets with Elias is this wolf called Hopper, which the wolves have like names for themselves, like, and the wolves also call like wolf brothers, they have names for them, like Elias Mature, I think he's like is Long Tooth or Long Fang, and like Perrin is called Young Bull, and the wolves all have like names for each other. One of young wolf that Perrin meets is Hopper, because he is always like leaping and like I think it was like his dream to fly or something essentially. But Hopper becomes acquainted with Perrin. He's actually killed by White Cloaks in the first book, And this is why Perrin goes into a rage and like kind of unlocks his like wolf brother rage state, and then kind of like he kills two white cloaks. It's a whole big thing in the books. In the second book, however, or the second season of the show, however, Perrin meets Hopper. Hopper accompanies him, and then they do include Hopper's death. But I'm not going to talk about that till a little later because that's another big change in the show they make. I'll explain that a little later. But anyway, um, to get to that explanation though, season one introduced is the Shan Chan. I believe book one also did that because basically the Shan Chan are this empire over the seas across this ocean that nobody on the main continent really knows about until they show up in their ships and they're like, we're the descendants of Arthur Hawkwing, this great king who once ruled over this entire land. We've come to reclaim our own. So they come land at the city of Falma, and they start, taking over land and stuff. And in the books, there's a white cloak captain, or a white cloak. I think he's a captain commander is like rank. Captain Commander Bornholt. I can't remember his first name. He's Captain Commander Bornholt, and he hears about the Shan Chan invasion, and essentially to him it's like if aliens like invaded like Australia, and over here in like America we heard about these like weird things going on because the Shan Chan have all these like basically they ride like dinosaurs into the battle, and they have these like collars and leashes that they collar women who can channel, and they use them as like weapons in battle. And so this Captain Commander of the Children of the Light, he takes a lot of his men, and they ride off to Falma to find out what's going on. And in the books, he dies in battle against the Shan Chan, and a dark friend tells his son Dane Bornholt that Perrin Barra was the one who killed him. Because he's basically tries to pit the White Cloaks against Perrin Barra. And there's this whole thing over like 7 books. Dane Bornholt believes that Perrin has killed his father, and Perrin is like, "No, I did not kill your father." Eventually, it comes down. There's this whole trial where all the White Cloaks are assembled. Perrin, by that time, is like the ruler of this whole wide area, and there's this whole trial. And before them all, Perrin presents evidence. Is like, "Look, I did not kill your father. He died in battle against the Shan Chan." In the books, it's very different. In the books, this man, Captain, because in the books, Dane Bornholt is not present. His father takes his group and they go off. In the show, however, Dane Bornholt is with his father and their White Cloaks. They go and they attack Falma, where the Shan Chan are. And Perrin and Hopper have showed up in Falma. They're there for various reasons. And basically, what happens is Hopper attacks a White Cloak Inquisitor. And Captain Commander Bornholt kills Hopper. And Perrin, in a rage, kills Commander Bornholt in front of Dane. Which I'm sitting there watching as the show. As a book lover, I'm like, the whole point of the book is that Perrin did not kill this guy. And his son was made to believe that Perrin killed this guy to sow discord among the people who are opposing the Dark One. And it's this whole plotline for 7 books. And in the show, Perrin kills this guy. And I'm sitting there like, why would you do that? First, you make Perrin kill his wife in season 1. And then you have him actually kill this guy that in the books he does not kill. And there's a whole... And that's a main plotline, is that he does not kill this guy. I'm sorry, I'm really fired up about this. I've been fired up about it for years. But... And then it's this whole just mess. And then, like, so... that's probably one of my second biggest beef with the season 2 of the Wheel of Time. I would say my first biggest beef. Well, this is actually kind of 2-part. So in the book, the Horn of Valier it's called the Great Hunt. The second book's called the Great Hunt, and the Horn of Valier is basically it's this horn where if you blow it, you summon all the heroes of legend back from the grave. In the book, Dark Friends have stolen it. Rand and Loyal and a bunch of others, they're like trying to find it. They'd get chased. They'd go all over the world. They travel through the ways. They travel like portal stones. They go all over hunting the horn. it ends up in the hands of the Shan Shan. And Rand, Matt, some Shinarans, and I think Loyal's with them too. They show up. They're in Falma, and they basically they kill the High Lord, Torok. Rand fights him in a sword duel, and then Matt takes the horn, and they book it out of there. And they get stuck between the Shan Shan army and the White Cloaks, who are also coming in. They're stuck between the two armies are coming, and so it's Rand, Matt, and Perrin, and because the Shinarans and Loyal are off elsewhere, and everyone else is off elsewhere. And so Matt is kind of like, well, might as well give it a shot. So he picks up the horn and he blows it. And this mist rises, and 100 heroes of legend show up, led by Arthur Hawkwing himself. And it's Arthur Hawkwing and Brigitte Silverbow, Geidel Kane, all these just people, heroes of legend from the past. They come and they ride up to Rand, and Rand is and Arthur Hawkwing has there's this great moment where Arthur Hawkwing wielding his great sword Justice and sitting atop his horse, he looks down at Rand and he goes, I have fought by your side times beyond number, Lewis Theron, because Lewis Theron has been born again and again, and Rand is just the latest incarnation of Lewis Theron. And he was I have fought by your side times beyond number, Lewis Theron. It would be a great honor to fight beside you again, essentially. And then Rand and Matt and Perrin lead the Heroes of the Horn into Falma and fight the Shan Shan invaders. And Rand eventually fights Ishamael. And there's this whole thing where Rand, he's sheathed in this blinding light, and he's holding his Heron-marked blade. He's up in the clouds fighting what essentially people see as the Dark One himself. And even though it's Ishamael, a figure just cloaked in darkness and wielding a black stick. And Rand and Ishamael have this big fight in the sky. And then Rand basically has been learning the sword from Land, and one of the moves Land has taught him is called sheathing the sword. So and Rand basically leaves himself open and lets the stick strike him in the side, and then Rand goes in for the killing blow. And it's this whole thing because this wound in Rand's side is a big deal throughout the book series. And then in the show they did it very differently. In the show, Matt is by himself up on this castle wall being chased by the Shan Shan, and he blows the horn of Valir, and there's 10 heroes pop up, and Arthur Hawkwing kind of delivers his line to Matt, and it's just it's meant to be this really epic moment, and as book readers kind of well, it just fell. Having read the books, it can't compare. I can understand if you're just watching the show, as someone who's just watched the show, you could be oh, this is kind of cool. But then there's a big difference is that in the books, Matt is explicitly said to not be a hero of the Horn. Matt even straight up asks him once. He's like, hey, am I a hero of the Horn? And they kind of are laughing. They're like, no. And Matt's like, good. Because I would not want to just be... He's like, when I die, I don't want to be at the beck and call of just anybody who can just blow the horn and bring me back. And that's very Matt-like. But in the show, Matt is he blows the horn, looks around, sees these 10 heroes standing there. He's like, I'm one of you. And gets all excited. And it was kind of that's not Matt. That is not Matt. That is not who he is. Then the other big scene is that I see some people are like, oh, this is such a great scene in the show, is when Rand and Ishamael face off. In the show version, it's not up in the clouds 1v1. In the show version, Rand is atop this tower and Ishamael's atop this tower. And then a bunch of Shan Shan working for Ishamael on these ships, they shield Rand, and they're gonna try and gentle him. And then Egwene pops up and puts up this faces off with Ishamael, and Ishamael's just kind of sitting there. He's literally just standing there with his hand going like this, just shooting blasts of fire. And Egwene's just standing there with his shield, and she's just kind of going oh, it's supposed to be this really dramatic moment. But it just felt really flat. Not the actors' performances or anything. It was just the writing itself and the show just fell flat. Compared to the book where it's this epic duel up in the sky, it was kind of weird because then what happens is Rand basically stands up and just kind of walks forward and stabs Ishamael with the sword, and Ishamael is just kind of standing there just watching, going like this, and Rand he kind of just accepts the sword and kind of just goes back on the ground, just kind of crumbles to dust. And it was just really anticlimactic and just felt really just wrong, considering especially how the book finale is just so epic and written so well, and the show, like, which could have just directly adapted it, said, okay, we're just gonna, like, change it up and make it very, very different and say it's epic. And then there's this whole thing where Moraine, like, she makes this, like, dragon, like, made out of fire, like, appear above Rand on the tower, and everybody's, like, looking up at him, and, like when they see the dragon, like, the only reason they know Rand is up there is when he stands on the edge after the fight and the dragon, like, appears above him, so they don't even get to see his fight with the Shamiel, which, considering how the show did it, is good, like, because anybody who saw that would have been like, oh, that's such a disappointing fight. But in the books, he's actually, like, up in the clouds with the shaman, and the whole city, like, looks up and is like, oh my gosh, the dragon has been reborn. He's battling the Dark One. And then as a result of that, Rand is like, he gains this, like, cult following, like, not cult following, but a bunch of people, like, they swear themselves the Dragon Reborn, and Rand openly proclaims that he is the Dragon Reborn. And news just travels to the whole world. Because before then, Rand has been, like, mostly in hiding, and nobody knows that he's the Dragon Reborn. And it's a big moment for Rand. He just, like, openly proclaims himself. Those are, like, my biggest beefs with season 2 as a whole. Honestly, like, I just think they could have done so much better. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about season 3 in an upcoming video. I will say I've seen the sneak peek for episode 8, which is supposed to drop next week. And well, by the time this video gets posted, it'll be this week. But I've seen the sneak peek for season 8. It looks really good. Even if it kind of looks like it deviates a little bit from the books. But if we're going to get that scene from the books this early in the show, I'm just really curious what that could mean for the show going forward. And also, I'm just kind of really curious to see it when it does play out. But yeah, I'll be doing a couple of videos on that coming up soon. And I will do a whole review of the season as a whole. So be on the lookout for those coming soon.